This lesson covers polynomial terminology. What is a polynomial? If you split the word up into poly and nomial, you'll notice that poly means many and nomial means terms. So a polynomial is a mathematical expression with many terms. We could have a monomial, which is one term, and one term is defined by being a product of numbers and variables. For example, negative 2xy squared z is a term or a monomial. You'll notice that the number in front that is multiplied to all the letters is called a coefficient. You could also have something called a binomial. Bi referring to two terms. Terms are separated with pluses and minuses. That's one nice way to see the terms. You could also have a trinomial, which implies there are three terms, and so on. Let's look at some more polynomial terminology. You could be asked to find the degree of a term. The degree of a term is the sum of all the exponents of all the variables in the term. So for example, say you had 2xy squared z, and you were asked to find the degree of this term. Well, you have exponents. The exponent on x is 1, the exponent on y is 2, the exponent on z is 1. So the degree of that term is the sum of 1, 2, and 1, which is 4. Another example would be, say you had to get the degree of 1. So there are no variables. Well, what happens when there are no variables? Essentially, what's happening there is you've got x to the power of 0, or any other variable to the power of 0. So if you add all those up, you get 0. Another example would be, what is the degree of x? Well, what's the power there? The power is 1, so the sum is 1. You could then be asked to find the degree of the polynomial, so of a series of terms. So that would be the highest degree of all the terms in the polynomial. Let's look at an example of that. Say you had to find the degree of 2x squared plus x plus 1. So what is the degree of this polynomial? Well, we've got three terms. The degree of this term is 2, this term is 1, this term is 0. So what is the highest degree? 2. Let's try another one. Find the degree of negative 5x cubed plus x squared minus xy plus 2. And what is the highest degree here? Well, this term, the degree is 3. This term, the degree is 2. This term, the degree is also 2. And this term, the degree is 0. So the highest degree is 3. Here's some more polynomial terminology. Let's take a look at this example here and pick out the components that we may be asked to find. So first of all, the leading term is the term with the highest degree. So let's find the degrees of each of these terms. The degree of the first term was 3, second term was 2, this term was 2, and this one is 0. Those are the degrees. So the highest degree was this first term here. Therefore, negative 5x cubed was the term with the highest degree. therefore the leading term. The leading coefficient is the coefficient of the leading term, which is the number multiplied in front of the leading term. In this case is -5. The free or constant term is the term with degree 0. So it's the one with no letters. So that is the free constant term, and in this case it's 7. And the linear term is the term with degree 1. So in this case we have no linear term. There is no term with degree 1. Technically, you could have said that there was a plus 0x in there, and that term would have had a degree of 1. Therefore, you could say the linear term is 0x. If you did say that there does not exist a linear term in this example, that would be also fine. So let's take a look at some more polynomial-related examples. Which of the following are polynomials? Well, first let's recall what the definition of a polynomial is. A polynomial was many terms, and each term has to be a product of numbers and variables. A product, meaning all multiplied together. So, let's take a look at the first one here. Is this a polynomial? 1/2 is a number times x times x, so that's a product of numbers and variables, and therefore it is a polynomial. Here, these are both terms that are products of numbers and variables. Check. This one here, you could have seen this as 1/5 x squared plus 1/2 x minus 1. Therefore, each term looks like it's a product of a number and some variables. Product. Check. This one here, let's take a look. This is actually 5 divided by x, divided by x. So, this one is not a polynomial because this term and this term, these terms are not products of numbers and variables. And let's check out the last one here. Root 2, that's just a number. That's fine. The root is not on the x, so we're okay. If you had something with, say, 2 root x, that would not be a polynomial either, because you don't have a product of variables there. So here you've got a number times x times x times x times x. You've got a number times x, products of numbers and variables. Yes, it's a polynomial. Let's take a look at this polynomial in particular. What is the leading coefficient and the constant term? Well, the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the leading term. And what is the leading term? The leading term is the one with the highest degree, which in this case is the first term. So, what is the coefficient of the first term? Well, the number that is multiplied to the variables is 1/5. Remember that 1/5 times x squared is the same as x squared over 5. The constant term is the term with degree 0. So in this case, it is -1. And you might also be given a polynomial function. We have seen this notation before, so you're basically evaluating this function. So if you had f of -5, that would be taking -5 squared plus -5 minus 2. That's -25 minus 5 minus 2, which is -32. For a half, you'd have -1/2 squared plus 1/2 minus 2. That's -1/4 because you squared the numerator and the denominator, plus 1/2 minus 2 over 1. We need to use some fraction knowledge here. Common denominator because we're adding fractions. The common denominator is 4, multiply by 2, multiply by 4. That's negative 1/4 plus 2/4 minus 8/4, which is negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7/4. Now this one here, you might be a little puzzled by. It says 2 times f of a. Now what is f of a? F of a would be replacing every single x with an a. And it's 2 times that whole thing, which is negative a squared plus a minus 2, which is, let's distribute that, that would be negative 2a squared plus 2a minus 4.